everyone, welcome once again to HW News Podcast. This is a weekly podcast that we do where we discuss about different topics but which are very unusual, very interesting, and it most of the times it gives a peek into what goes on behind the scenes in a newsroom. It is a peek into what happens in a newsroom when we decide on a news, what goes into our mind, etc. But today...
Yes, Arti, and we don't rehearse what we have to speak.
Yes.
And most importantly, we allow Vinay to speak what he wants. That, I think, is the highlight of podcast. Vinay?
Yes, sir, मैं सहमत हूँ और कभी-कभी ऐसा लगता है कि सच में वाकई हमें
This is what you are talking about.
Well, so today we have decided to talk about one very interesting topic. Normally, when people look at politicians, people mostly see them on news channels talking to reporters. But for reporters, for journalists, it's a first-hand experience. So today we are going to talk about different political characters in Indian politics. And we are also going to talk about some of our personal experience of meeting with some politicians, how they are on the screen and how they are off the screen as well. So today we are going to talk about that one interesting bit. What do you say, Sujit sir? Should we start with you?
Oh, you want to start with me? Okay. Who should I talk about first? You know, a lot of people, but I will talk about Sam Petroda. You know, I had met Sam Petroda. In a very typical situation, Arti. Because you know what? Nobody was campaigning for Congress in Maharashtra. And this was 2019 election, I remember. Nobody was campaigning. Ashok Chavan and all were not campaigning for Congress. And this man, all the way from US, he's I think 77 or 78. All the way from US, he came down and he was campaigning. He was going all around the place, all around the country and campaigning for Congress. So so there was this press conference, not really a press conference, it was actually a discussion in a club, in a yacht club in Mumbai. And after the discussion, I walked up to him and I told him that, could he give me an interview, which he readily agreed. Very nice of him. And I asked him, I said, listen, why are you here? Shouldn't Prithviraj Chavan be next to you? Shouldn't Ashok Chavan be next to you? And he actually had, he wanted to answer me, but he couldn't answer because, obviously he was, he didn't want to say things about his party. But I found him, I found him so loyal to Rajiv Gandhi. I found him so loyal to the Gandhi Parivar. That I should say. And secondly, I started my questioning and I realized that he didn't want to talk on politics because he couldn't talk on politics. And I realized that, and he was guarding himself, and I thought that was not fair. Yeah, he doesn't want to talk on politics. So I cut my this thing, and I said, "TK, you don't want to talk on politics. Let's talk on some other subject. Let's talk on infrastructure. Let's talk on IT." His face lit up, and I did this interview with him, and we had a beautiful interview where he told me some real touchy stories about his life, his relations with Rajiv Gandhi and his relation with the Gandhi Parivar. I think I kind of found him very honest and very real. No pretense, no political screen and all that in front of him. Nice guy. So yeah, that would be one experience I would like to talk about.
Well, there is one interesting personality. I think that personality is in news since last 1 week or so. That personality is Raj Thackeray. On and off he comes in the news and goes back again. But this time it seems like he's here to stay because on 3rd May he has said it's a deadline. And if by 3rd May the loudspeakers on the mosques are not removed, then he will also put up the loudspeakers in front of the mosques and play Hanuman Chalisa. So I think that has also led to a huge debate in the country, already polarized country, and that's how Raj Thackeray is doing this. Now you have had the opportunity to meet Raj Thackeray.
Many times, yes.
Yes. So Raj Thackeray on screen in political life and Raj Thackeray in personal life, are they the same persons?
No, Raj Thackeray is a very nice person when you meet him. He's I'm not saying he's bad in political life, but he's a very warm, hospitable person when you meet him. See, let us talk about Raj Thackeray's politics, Arti. Arti, Raj Thackeray cannot garner votes. He cannot get votes. Let's be clear. But what he can do is he can fabulously set a narrative during an election. He is very good at that. Now, 2019, the NCP, not Congress and NCP used him brilliantly. Okay, so you remember the Lavreto video and all of that. So they used him brilliantly, and he set the narrative. And I remember, one of my clips, I think somebody cut and missed it out of context, and it was put into, and it almost went viral. Where I told him that if Raj Thackeray does a show, at least 1 or 2 or 3 lakh people will, when he does a rally, 1 or 2 or 3 lakh people come in, and no other leader in Maharashtra can garner that kind of people, that kind of crowd. Balasaheb Thackeray used to garner that kind of crowd. R.R. Patil used to garner that kind of crowd. I don't think anybody in recent times can garner that kind of crowd. So I had said that, but the point is, somewhere down the line, Raj Thackeray, Sharad Pawar used Raj Thackeray very well, but Raj Thackeray was not rewarded by Sharad Pawar after the election. Like I said, he never wins. He cannot garner votes for himself. But I thought that the Mahavikas Aghadi should have rewarded Raj Thackeray. They didn't. Number one. Number two, of course, then the ED and Bharatiya Janata Party's ED and all happened, and Raj Thackeray turned the color of his flag, and all of a sudden he started talking about Hindutva. And what he is currently doing, obviously, is absolutely, absolutely unacceptable, because trying to create communal tensions is not really how one should run politics. But then that's Raj Thackeray. He's setting his narrative. He's setting his narrative, and he's setting his narrative to help a particular political party, and that, I presume, is a Bharatiya Janata Party. And finally, all the narratives that he said will help Bharatiya Janata Party. It may not personally help his party. It may not personally help Maharashtra Navnirman Sena. That's the way I see it happening with Raj Thackeray.
No, even after all these things, even after the electoral defeats, it is very interesting that he has been able to retain some of his key loyalists in the party. And there are some people in his party that believe in the concept of Raj Sahib. Do you think at some point of time, will he be able to, replace or maybe go close to what Balasaheb Thackeray was?
No. Please don't compare Balasaheb Thackeray with Raj Thackeray. Balasaheb Thackeray was a genius. Balasaheb Thackeray was a different ballgame altogether. Balasaheb Thackeray was a leader par excellence. His actual, connectivity to the ground, connectivity to the last common denominator, connectivity with his workers, connectivity with his leaders. It was beyond an ordinary leader that you see today. Balasaheb Thackeray was in Mumbai language a bindas politician. See, he never kept anything. He was not he was never politically correct. He said what he felt like. He spoke the way he wanted to speak. His speeches were the way he wanted to speak. So he was a very different person. He was a fabulous politician. He was, more importantly, he was connected to the last common denominator. Arti, you will not remember these names, but a lot of people of my age will. The first mayor of Thane was a gentleman called Satish Pradhan. Okay, and he was, I think, also the first MP from Shiva Sena. Okay, so Satish Pradhan, once I was in a social function with Satish Pradhan, and we were talking, and I remember Satish Pradhan told me that, he says he used to have nightmares when he was a mayor. When Thane Municipal Corporation Shiva Sena got elected in Thane Municipal Corporation, and he became a mayor, because he used to get nightmare. Because if there is some blockade somewhere, or if some area there is no water, Balasaheb Thackeray used to call him at 2 o'clock in the night and say, what the hell? Why is there no water in that particular area? Why is there no water in Mumra? Why is there no water there? Why is there no water there? And he would be shocked, saying that smallest of the smallest things that happened in Thane Municipal Corporation would go to Balasaheb Thackeray, and Balasaheb Thackeray would actually call him. So that was the involvement of Balasaheb Thackeray, let me tell you. So I don't think Balasaheb Thackeray should be compared to anybody, for that matter of fact. He was a person of his own. He was a character. He was an individual who had his own charisma and who had his own way of functioning. So that's Balasaheb Thackeray for you, Arti.
Well, I think we have not given any punishment to Vinay. Vinay, you can also speak.
Yeah. Vinay, why is he quiet?
नहीं मतलब
नहीं,
ऐसा कोई ऐसा नेता या फिर इससे कुछ मेरी मतलब इतनी ज़्यादा वो खास बातचीत ऐसा हुआ नहीं है। फील्ड पे जब हम रहते हैं तो फिर उनके पीछे पीछे भागना ही पड़ता है कि सर इस पे बाइट दे दो, ये कर लो। तो इसके लिए मेरे पास ऐसे कोई अनुभव नहीं है बताने के लिए, लेकिन अगर इंटरव्यू और ये सब करने के लिए देखा जाए तो काफ़ी एक मुझे नेता याद आते हैं जिनसे बातचीत थोड़ी हुई थी। वो स्पोक्स पर्सन है समाजवादी पार्टी के, तो काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से उनका जो जिस तरीके से बातचीत करने का तरीका था, और जब हम माइक बंद करके कैमरा बंद करके उनसे मिलते हैं तो कई नेता मतलब इस तरीके से बातचीत करते हैं, उनका व्यवहार ऐसा रहता है। और तो ऐसा लगता ही नहीं है कि ये जब भाषण दे रहे होते हैं या फिर इस तरीके से जितना अग्रेसिवली दूसरी पार्टियों पर वो निशाना साधते हैं तो थोड़ा एक अलग ही व्यक्तित्व नज़र आता है। और ये तो लगभग सभी पॉलिटिशियन में ऐसा देखा जाता है कि अगर आप उन्हें बंद कमरे में या फिर अलग से जब बात करें तो एक जो तौर तरीका होता है वो अलग होता है, लेकिन जब वो सार्वजनिक मंच पर होते हैं या फिर बाहर होते हैं, लोगों के बीच में होते हैं, तो थोड़ा एक अलग ही होता है। और राज ठाकरे के बारे में भी अगर मैंने भी ये ऑब्जर्व किया हुआ है कि जब वो जिस तरीके से अगर वो बाहर हैं तो जिस तरीके से स्टेज पर चढ़ते हैं, बैठे रहते हैं, या फिर उनके भाषण का अंदाज जो होता है वो, और उन बाकी समय में जिस तरीके से उनका बोलचाल का तरीका ये सब रहता है तो बिल्कुल अलग होता है।
No, one more thing I'll tell you about Raj Thackeray. Interesting part about Raj Thackeray. See, he gives very much, he gets into the detail of a stage, his design of a stage, where he stands. Oh yeah, where he stands. How, how his podium is, and how the background looks. Because he's an artist, he's a fabulous artist. Let me tell you, he's a fabulous creative person. And coming from an advertising background myself, I understand. I mean, the man is a phenomenally creative person. That can't take it away from him. And everything he does is very creative, including his stage, including the way, the podium of his, including the way he stands. Everything is creative and everything is pre-designed. He's a perfectionist. There is no law. There is no a flower hanging from one place or a some kind of a statue in another place, and all that doesn't happen in his stage. His stage is perfectly made. It's symmetrical and it's well designed. So that's another thing about Raj Thackeray, I should say.
अगर तुम भी कोई अपने अनुभव साझा करना।
Yes. I have met couple of political leaders when.
Couple, you must have met hundreds of political leaders.
Yes, during reporting days. But the most prominent person that I remember is, and it was because it was quite surprising. When we normally go to BJP leaders, they don't talk to us because they think that we are very much.
Sorry. I have to tell you this. Compared to Congress, Bharatiya Janata Party leaders are far more approachable and they are far more available for comments and all that. That I should say.
Correct. They are available for comments and all. But then also some of them have a little bit of reservations about us. And I think Mr. Fadnavis also doesn't give us interviews and all. But that aside, I think one person who in BJP I personally think is the most misunderstood is Chandrakant Patil. He is the state president of BJP, and even today his memes are going viral on internet because he said that if he loses Kolhapur North in the by-polls, then he will go to Himalayas. So now the Congress is going all after him and making memes on him. But I think in the BJP, one person that I found very approachable, very nice and very courteous was Chandrakant Patil. I remember in 2019, BJP was conducting a press conference and he was the one who was heading the press conference, and there was a long queue of all the electronic media platforms. And at that point of time, I remember even in a city like Mumbai, digital media was not given that much of prominence.
Yes.
And in such a situation, there were at least 10 reporters in front of me. He finished all the 10 interviews, like one-to-one interviews. And then he still waited for me to come up to him and ask him questions. And he answered it all well. It was not like he did it in a haste or something. He gave us quite 20 minutes of interview, and he had to catch a flight or something, and he still waited and he did that. and he was very courteous after that also. So I think the person who was most amicable in BJP, very easygoing or very friendly to talk to, was Chandrakant Patil for me. I don't know, his political persona is very different from his personal personality, but yes, he seemed quite friendly to me.
Very correct. Very correct. Let's keep all the ideologies and political personas and all side. Let's talk about people. I think that's what you wanted to do. Yeah, I completely agree. One more person I will talk about in BJP is Ashish Shelar. Another gem of a human being, a fantastic person to know, a nice human being to talk to, always available, always there to talk to you. You need some bites, you need some information, he's there to give you. SMS him, WhatsApp him, he responds in seconds. Another very good gentleman. These traits, Arti, are never found in congressmen. These traits are never found in congressmen. Congressmen today, they are in the government, one knows, but they are, I don't know, they are in the government purely because of luck. I don't think they are in the government because they did a great job during the election. But the point is, these congressmen, they still are arrogant. They don't want to give you time. They act as if they are God's gift to humanity. They have these bodyguards all around, and they are completely disconnected with people. Completely disconnected with people.
I remember when you said this, your encounter with Kapil Sibal at Mumbai Press Club. That's a story in itself.
But actually, yeah, I should say, but I have said a lot of things about Kapil Sibal, so I don't think he likes me. But the point is, Kapil Sibal, that day was good. That day he was quite good, I should say. But that said, Arti, I think Congress guys are very unapproachable. Not the Gandhis, but other than the Gandhis, because Gandhis are still very approachable. I remember Sonu telling me, he went to Priyanka Gandhi and she came out of her.
It was late in the night during UP election campaign, and the people around Gandhis are the ones who act like a gatekeeper of sorts.
Oh yeah.
But then Priyanka Gandhi saw Sonu Kanodia standing there. He was waiting since 3 hours or something, and then she came out herself and gave him the interview. So I think that happened late in the night, and during those days in UP, late at night is quite late. But then too, she was that much considerate.
Yeah, and another person I would say who's quite considerate and who's quite nice to talk to is Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor is also a very fine gentleman to talk to. Open, does not mince words, does not play with words, does not stick to that 20 minutes, 21 minutes he will start looking at his watch. All that doesn't happen. He's a good person to talk to and speaks his heart out. So that's another person, at least in Congress. I think one of the rare people in Congress to talk to. Sanjay Jha was good, but he's not in Congress anymore. But Shashi Tharoor also is also a good person to talk to. I had spoken to Yashwant Sinha, if you remember. I found him, I thought he was a very cordial person, but I didn't find him so cordial. I don't know, maybe he had a bad, twice I spoke to him, he had a bad day. Because first of all, he was scuttling my questions. See, I do not treat my guest. I do not ask them. I do not make them feel uncomfortable. I do not believe in cross questioning them or insulting them and all that. I do not do all of that. Okay, I ask questions and I expect answers. In fact, before most of my, let my viewers know, before most of my interviews, I tell the guest that if he or she doesn't want to answer a particular question, he or she can choose not to answer that question. I will edit it. Whoever, they are from BJP or they are from Vishwa Hindu Parishad or they are from whoever. I normally say that to my guests. And that's how it happens. But, I found Yashwant Sinha very, he was avoiding questions. Secondly, he gave me 20 minutes and then, he was getting calls and then he had some other this thing. So I thought that was very unprofessional. So that was my experience with Yashwant Sinha.
I have an experience with Uddhav Thackeray, and it was quite surprising for me. At that point of time, he was not Chief Minister of Maharashtra. He was alliance partner with BJP. Devendra Fadnavis was the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and I also remember it was on the occasion of before Dasara, I guess. And he conducted a press conference to say that the resignations are ready in our pocket. You know, the famous dialogue of Shiv Sena when it was in alliance with BJP. And after the press conference, he sat with all the journalists there, and he knew personally each of them, and he also knew their family members. Maybe he was asking everybody personally, how is your father, how is your mother, how is your brother doing in studies, and all those stuff. And for a politician of that stature to know everyone's personal life, and being involved in that was quite rare for me. So I had this very nice experience of Uddhav Thackeray. He also comes across very nice person, but on the stage he speaks a lot on the tune of how Shiv Sena leaders said.
मुझे भी एक वाकया याद आ रहा है जिसके बारे में 2019 के लोकसभा चुनाव का समय था वो, सभी मतलब हम भी कोशिश कर रहे थे कि जितने टॉप पॉलिटिशियंस हैं अलग अलग पार्टियों से उनके इंटरव्यूज़ कर सकें। और मुझे याद आ रहा है कि विनोद दुआ जी, मतलब उन्होंने उस समय राज ठाकरे का भी इंटरव्यू किया था, शीला दीक्षित जो और नितिन गडकरी, नहीं नितिन गडकरी का तो
अखिलेश ने
किया था, तो हम ऐसे कर रहे थे सारे। तो कन्हैया कुमार जो उस समय कंटेस्ट कर रहे थे सीपीआई से बेगूसराय सीट से, मतलब हमारा बातचीत हो गया था कि इंटरव्यू शेड्यूल हो गया था, काफ़ी हमने सारे अरेंजमेंट्स कर लिए थे सब कुछ, और विनोद सर जाने वाले थे वहाँ पर,
जाने वाले थे,
पहुंच चुके थे वहाँ।
अरे नहीं अरेंजमेंट नहीं, you got it all wrong. We were asked to do an interview. They wanted Vinod Dua to do an interview, Vinay. He wanted Vinod Dua to do an interview. Vinod ji went all the way from Delhi. He was not very well, those days. It was not that he was having corona. No? He was not very well those days. He traveled from Delhi to Bihar. He stayed in a hotel that night. Next day morning, he went to Begusarai, where Kanhaiya Kumar was there.
I think Begusarai is quite remote.
Yes. He went there with, I remember Smita, who used to then be coordinating that interview. She was there. Our team was there. Our camera team was there. The entire team went there, and Kanhaiya Kumar refused to give an interview to Vinod Dua. Vinod ji was so upset. I tell you, he was upset because he felt quite insulted with that. Because he was Vinod Dua, all said and done. He was a senior most journalist possibly in India at that point in time, and one of the most respected journalists in India. And he was waiting outside Kanhaiya Kumar's house, Arti. He was waiting outside his house, Vinay. So, I felt very bad. After that, I have never, ever asked Kanhaiya Kumar for an interview, nor will I ever want to do an interview with Kanhaiya Kumar. Because, not because I think what he's doing is wrong, or I don't believe in his ideology, or I dislike him or something, but I felt that, I felt that was an insult to Vinod ji, and I will never want to forget that or forgive that. So that was good. You reminded me of that incident. That was something that will always remain in our heart.
कभी कभी इस तरीके का व्यवहार किसी नेता द्वारा थोड़ा बहुत ही खटक जाता है कि इतनी तैयारियां कर ली, सब कुछ कर लिया, पर आप
Kanhaiya Kumar was a kid at that point in time. Come on, he was a young leader, and this was Vinod Dua. At least that you should have respected. You should have respected the man's age and his seniority and the kind of journalist he was. So,
कई बार, बहुत बार हमारे साथ ऐसा हुआ है कि हम किसी से अगर हम शेड्यूल कर लेते हैं, इंटरव्यू उनसे समय मांग लेते हैं, लेकिन ऐसा देखा गया है कि बाद में कुछ व्यस्तता या फिर किसी और कारण की वजह से वे पॉलिटिशियन या फिर और भी कई लोग होते हैं, वो नहीं उस समय पर उपस्थित हो पाते हैं, मौजूद नहीं होते हैं, तो वे बाकायदा हमें उस बात से अवगत कराते हैं कि ये परिस्थितियाँ, कई बार परिस्थितियों के बारे में नहीं भी बताते, लेकिन अपनी जो उपलब्धता है उसके बारे में बता देते कि भाई हम नहीं आ पाएंगे। तो ये काफ़ी अच्छा होता है। लेकिन इस तरह से आप वहाँ पर तैयार हो के बस वेट कर रहे हैं कि आने वाले हैं और फिर आप वहाँ पर आए ही ना, और तो ये मतलब ऐसा एक वाकया है जो शायद,
और ऐसा भी नहीं कि कोई दिल्ली से एक एक स्ट्रीट से दूसरे स्ट्रीट में गए, दिल्ली से वो बिहार गए,
all the way to Patna,
all the way to Patna and then to Begusarai, and then he didn't meet him. I thought that hurt me as a person. I hurt me because I had a lot of regards for Vinod Dua. Maybe he doesn't, but it hurt me as a human being.
Two personalities you met, one Farooq Abdullah and Hardik Patel.
Farooq. Oh my God.
And I think that was 2017 or 18, I guess, and the Kashmir was still reeling under the post Burhan Wani.
Yes. It's Burhan Wani had just happened. And yes, Kashmir was reading under that. I met Farooq Abdullah at his residences. Not his residence, his office. It's called Navi Subha.
Okay.
That's what his office is. It's a huge ground, and there's this huge building in this ground. So I'll tell you my experiences.
Central Kashmir?
Yeah, Central Kashmir, very close to the Dal Lake and all that. So initially, when we went there was nobody. So we went through this rigorous security check and all of that. Rigorous security check. And then we were just standing in the Maidan. Because there was nobody. Nobody knew. There was an interview. There was nobody. And we were standing. I think me, Prathamesh, our production head, Rohit was there. Rohit, you were there, right?
Hardik, yeah.
During Farooq Abdullah's interview, you didn't go. Okay. So who was there? There was a cameraman. And our local reporter from Srinagar was there. So we all four of us there, we were standing there. It was what? It was some 3 degree, 4 degree temperature, and we were standing in that Maidan waiting for Farooq Abdullah to happen. And then he came. Then people came to know that we were actually from Mumbai, and we were there to take his interview. And then we were called in and all of that. Of course, then we were treated very well, and and this interview was fabulous. Farooq Abdullah got so livid in that interview at one point in time. Okay, but end of the day didn't matter because he was very courteous. He was a nice human being, very 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 nice person to talk to. So I had very fond memories of that. So that was my interview with a lot of things that happened. I don't want to say because that is something that you shouldn't be talking about. But otherwise he was a fine gentleman. He gets a little angry, yeah, that is a fact. But he's a fine gentleman to kind of talk to and to interact with. That's one. Hardik Patel, on the other hand, again, these unprofessionalism actually shows in leaders like Hardik Patel. Called for an interview at 2 o'clock, landed up at 6:30. We had a flight to catch back from Ahmedabad to Mumbai. He landed up at 6:30, 4 hours late for an interview. And then this is 30, 40 security guys and, all that jazz. And then he changed and all of that. He had to deck up, and then we had the interview down in the garden. One could see immaturity in Hardik Patel. At least I thought he was a very mature politician because he was more bothered about his tete-a-tete with Mamata Banerjee and Uddhav Thackeray and his next meeting with Sharad Pawar. He was a partidar leader for crying out loud. He was talking more about national politics when he just about became a leader. And I thought we would be talking more about the partidar movement, more about the partidar reservation which he was supposed to talk about. But he was talking about, he was all over the place. And somewhere down the line, I thought that, this attitude of, all of a sudden seeing yourself as a national leader is going to have its implications on his career. And to a certain extent, I think he did, because I don't think he has the kind of partidar base that he used to have when I went to talk to him, when I met him at that stage, where he was an undisputed leader of partidar. I don't think he has that kind of following. I think that eroded out of him. Eroded not because I think eroded because I don't think he managed to garner that support base.
Correct.
He didn't garner that support base. He just let it go. So boom, it eroded, and that's the stage it is. So that was Hardik Patel. Otherwise, again, a nice person, a very sweet gentleman, nice person to talk to. Yeah, of course.
so many behind the scenes story. Actually, if we talk about each and every story, then it will be, I think, 5 or 6 hours of podcast, I think. Vinay, if we talk about any other personalities that you have met, I think you also met Praveen Togadia.
Oh yeah. Why don't you talk about it?
प्रवीण तोगड़िया उन दिनों मतलब थे, उनके बारे में भी थोड़ी बहुत चर्चा हो रही थी 2019 के चुनाव से पहले, और जिस तरीके से उनकी बयानबाजी हो रही थी हिंदुत्व और इन सब चीज़ों को लेकर के, वो थोड़े बहुत चर्चा में इसलिए भी थे क्योंकि उन्हें गिरफ्तार भी किया गया था, गिरफ्तारी की उनकी खबरें चल रही थी जो भी इस तरीके से, तो वहाँ पर इंतज़ार करना पड़ा था थोड़ा। बाकी उन्होंने मीडिया से बात नहीं किया और थोड़ी हिचक थी मेरे मन में कि मेरे पास एक डिजिटल मीडिया का बूम है, माइक है, ये है, बात करेंगे नहीं करेंगे। वो इतना ज़्यादा उन्होंने इंतज़ार करवाया, बाकी मीडिया के लोग वहाँ से तो निकल चुके थे, मैं अकेला बचा था, और ये कहा जा रहा था कि वो मीडिया से इंटरेक्ट नहीं करेंगे, बात नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन उन्होंने की मुझसे कुछ सवाल पूछे मैंने, और उस टाइम पे ये मैंने उनसे पूछा था कि क्या अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी जो आपके मुद्दे हैं, जो आपकी मांग है, अगर उन पर उसके बारे में बात करती तो क्या आप उन्हें समर्थन देंगे? तो उन्होंने एक तरह से संकेत दिया था कि बिल्कुल हम देंगे, अगर हमारी बात वे सुनते हैं, हमारी आपस में बातचीत हो जाती है, तो ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हम हिंदुत्व के लिए सिर्फ भारतीय जनता पार्टी जिम्मेदार है, हम कांग्रेस के साथ में भी जा सकते हैं। तो ये उस समय एक मतलब बाद में इसको और भी मीडिया, नेशनल मीडिया ने भी उस पर ध्यान दिया, और ये मैंने देखा कि आगे जाके बाकी लोगों ने भी ये इशू उठाया था। तो ऐसा कुछ उनके साथ ये नॉर्मल बातचीत था, क्वेश्चन आंसर था, तो कुछ ऐसा। और
The rudest politician that I have met till date has to be P. Chidambaram.
Yes, he is damn rude. He is damn rude. See, these are people who believe that they are entitled.
Yeah.
You know, they are entitled, and they are they don't belong to the common man category. They are all elitist category and belongs to a completely. They come from some other planet or something. I agree.
I had this experience twice. Once I had called him for his reaction to a report. I think it was about India's GDP going down, and I had called him to talk to him about this. And what was, as a former finance minister, what is his reaction to this? What is his point of view? And he just asked me, from where are you calling? And when he got to know that it is a digital media, he just abruptly cut the call. Without saying anything, he just cut the call. And second time, this experience I had during an event that was organized by All India Professional Congress in Mumbai. They had also called him to talk about economy. There was a discussion on economy. There was some economist present there. He was also invited. And when it was the media started questioning him, it was very rude. He just got up after 2 questions and just went off.
No, he is a very rude politician. Actually, I also have, though I have not directly seen or experienced his rudeness, but I have heard this from a lot of fellow journalists. Rude gentlemen, and like I said, these are few of the people who believes, Congress guys who believes they are entitled. They only, they only talk to the kings and queens and few select people of the media. Now the irony is those select people doesn't want to talk to them. That's the irony now. So, and whenever they talk to them, they kind of, turn and twist their words. So it's sad, but then they deserve it to a certain extent. So good. That's
part and parcel of the job that we are in. Sometimes it's like blow hot, blow cold.
Absolutely. Otherwise, most of the people, 100 maybe, 100 interviews. You must have done what? 100
yes,
interviews?
Definitely.
100 interviews. More than 100 interviews. I think most of them were good people. Most of them were nice people. I remember, I had gone to meet Miss Sheila Dikshit before Vinod Dua at her in her office. And those are good experiences. Very warm lady. Very warm lady. She is no longer there. Very warm lady. Very soft spoken. Very sweet lady. I could never get Arvind Kejriwal to speak to me though, which is again quite. I have not attempted it much either. but I would never get Arvind Kejriwal to speak to me. He's one of those people who have not ever interacted or even met actually. So that's.
I had once seen this, once I attended Uttar Pradesh Expo. I think it was a business summit or something, and UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath was in Mumbai. And it was a very unusual sight, completely dressed in a saffron. He was from head to toe, he was in a saffron, and he was addressing a bunch of people. The people in the, that room, all were suited, all were in the western attire. And everything was like, that slick western look. And there he was, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, in all saffron robes, talking to these people. And I don't know, that sight was, unique, I would say.
Nice. So that was it, I guess, Arti. That was, I think, a very interesting discussion.
Yes. So
we never spoke about ideology, nor did we speak about politics. It was good. And technically speaking, end of the day, did you notice something? We spoke good about Bharatiya Janata Party and right-wing politicians rather than any of the left-wing politicians. And possibly the popularity that these people enjoy, the right-wing politicians enjoy, is because they are connected. They're very connected to the people. I think that's something that Congress and parties like them should learn and should actually replicate.
Yes. I think that should be the takeaway. But more importantly, this was like the point of view that is ours. What we see on the other side of the camera, what you see as an audience, as a viewer, is what we show you on camera, what happens on camera. But off the camera, what we experience behind that 15 minutes of interview, what happens, because I think the effort goes on for almost 1 hour or so for that 15 minutes of interview.
1 hour, at times 1 day.
Yes, entire 1 day. So like going there, approaching them, talking to their coordinators, coordinating with them, waiting for them, going behind them. Sometimes during elections especially, we have to run behind the politicians, wherever they go. So it's not that easy as what people might like to think.
Sonu is a champion in that.
Yeah.
I think he should give him some award for that. He is good in chasing politicians and getting them to speak to him. I think that's his core forte. You name it and he can get it. Huh? He kind of goes with a name and he goes and gets that interview. That's very uniquely his talent.
Yes. So so that was that for today's episode. It was we talking about our experience with politicians, the behind the scene experience with politicians. Do let us know how did you find it? How did you find this episode? Did you find some interesting moments? Then do let us know in the comment box below. And for more news and updates, don't forget to log on to www.hwnews.in.
And before you end, please share our content, because our content is not shared, not distributed by YouTube the way it should. Our content needs to reach people. Please share our content. And please ensure that if you can log on to our website and watch our content on our website, that will be fabulous, because then we don't have to depend on any platform to reach you. So we can do it through our own platform, through our own website. So please log on to www.hwnews.in, log on to our website and
also, if you like the journalism that we do, if you like the videos that we make for you, if you like the content that we present to you, then please contribute to us. Go to our website www.hwnews.in/support, and we have different subscription options available on our website. You can choose whatever the plan that works for you and support us, because when you support us, you also help independent media stay alive in the country. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.